Hello, you relentless shadow operatives, those who wear silence like armor and strategy like a crown. You who smile with the coldness of a villain, yet move with the precision of a kingmaker behind every unseen throne. This isn't just a game for you. It's an art of controlled chaos, a dark symphony conducted in the alleys where power whispers and trust is currency no one dares spend. They watch you, wide-eyed, frantic, unknowing that every step you take is calculated. Every smile conceals a blade sharper than their ignorance. They're shook, rattled to their core because you exist in that liminal space between menace and mastery, where few dare to tread and even fewer survive. You don't announce your arrival with noise. You erupt with the subtlety of a slow-burning fuse, igniting fireworks behind the scenes that dismantle empires built on shaky foundations. Their eyes catch your smile, a smirk almost, and the ripple it sends through the air is an electric jolt of fear. It's not just your grin, it's what it represents, the promise that you know exactly what they don't, that you hold the unseen threads of their fate, weaving chaos with the calmness of a king, surveying a battlefield that only you perceive. This isn't luck. It's a ruthless, painstaking mastery of psychology and perception. Every move you make is a chess play, designed not just to win, but to unsettle, to confuse, to make them question their own sanity. They try to read you, dissect you, but they fail because you exist beyond their frame of reference, too sharp, too enigmatic, too damn unpredictable. You are the villain they never expected, the puppet master whose hands are invisible, but whose reach is absolute. Understand this. To smile like a villain is not mere cruelty. It's a declaration of dominion. It says, I see through your facades. I've swallowed your lies and digested your fears. You are my playthings. The smile is the mask, the illusion of ease, but behind it lies the storm that will dismantle their illusions brick by brick. They recoil because they feel the weight of your gaze, the cold assessment that strips their confidence down to trembling ruins. And moving like a kingmaker, that's where the true art lies. While others fight with brute force or empty noise, you operate in shadows, pulling levers they don't even know exist. You orchestrate alliances, betrayals, and power shifts with a calm that borders on eerie. Your every decision sends shockwaves, reshaping the game board before anyone can blink. You understand that power isn't in overt dominance, it's in subtle control, making the kings dance to your tune while believing they still hold the scepter. The chaos you sow isn't reckless, it's surgical. It's a calculated destruction of certainty, a systematic dismantling of the enemy's narrative. You don't need to shout. Your silence screams louder. They scramble, desperate to react. But by the time they process the damage, you're already 5 moves ahead. Their desperation becomes your amusement, their confusion your weapon. Look at their faces when they realize they've been played by a ghost, unseen, unfathomable. That's your victory, not in brute strength, but in breaking their sense of security, unraveling their perceived control. You smile because you know this. The true power lies in the mind, and you have mastered the art of psychological warfare to a terrifying degree. Philosophically speaking, you embody the paradox of power. The gentlest touch can topple the mightiest fortress. The softest whisper can shatter the loudest roar. To them, you are the enigma they can't solve, the shadow that slips through every net. To yourself, you are the architect of inevitability, the force that bends reality by simply existing in it with cold intent. They're shook not just because you succeed. They're shook because you remind them that they are never truly in control, that beneath every throne lies a dark undercurrent of manipulation waiting to pull it down. And you, with your villain's smile and Kingmaker's stride, are the unstoppable current. The world rewards the loud, the brazen, the obvious moves. But you thrive in the unseen. Your power is the paradoxical elegance of silence and subtlety. Where others bluster, you calculate. Where others fight openly, you conquer secretly. The psychological grip you hold is absolute because it's invisible until it's too late. Remember this: every smile you wear is a message, a signature carved into the psyche of your adversaries, that no matter how loud they scream or how high they climb, you are the shadow lurking just beyond their grasp. You make them question their reality, their alliances, their own minds. And that's where true domination begins. In the space where doubt festers and fear takes root. They underestimate you because they see your smile as weakness or amusement. They fail to realize it's the calm before the storm, the mask that hides a mind sharp enough to dismantle kingdoms. Your moves are silent coups, your victories invisible to the naked eye but deafening in their aftermath. Philosophy teaches that power is transient, but influence is eternal. You don't just take power, you wield influence like a dark art, weaving a narrative where you are the unseen author. They don't see you coming because you don't enter the battlefield shouting war cries. You move like a kingmaker, subtle, precise, inevitable. Your smile is the villain's signature, but your moves are those of a strategist who knows the rules and breaks them effortlessly. You create chaos, not because you crave destruction, but because you understand that order built on falsehoods must fall. You are the correction they fear, the reckoning they never prepared for. In this game of shadows and thrones, they try to bind you with their expectations, but you slip through like smoke, reshaping the game on your terms. They're shook because you refuse to be predictable, because you laugh in the face of their scripts and rewrite the narrative with every move. Your power lies in the contradictions you embody, the villain who commands respect, the kingmaker who stays unseen, the smile that promises doom and the calm that ensures victory. They watch, they tremble, they scramble, and you smile wider, knowing the game has just begun. Because while they panic over what they see, you thrive on what they can't. You are the master of unseen forces, the kingmaker who laughs silently, and the villain whose smile is the last thing they ever see before everything falls apart. And now, as you stand at this precipice, know this: the real game has only just begun. Because while they scramble for answers, you've already begun the next phase. The calm after the storm, the shadow beyond the light. This is where most falter, where panic turns to recklessness, where desperation blinds the eyes that once tried to pierce your veil. But you don't flinch, you don't rush, you wait, patiently and mercilessly. Because you understand a brutal truth. Victory isn't seized in the moment of noise. It's harvested in the silence of calculated patience. You watch them scatter like frightened prey, chasing illusions you planted long ago. They scramble, blinded by confusion, groping for meaning in a puzzle whose edges you crafted in darkness. See, the world is addicted to certainty. They crave answers, quick, simple, loud answers. But you are the architect of ambiguity, the master of blurred lines. You thrive in the gray, where chaos and control bleed into each other and leave your enemies dizzy and disoriented. You don't just break their logic, you demolish their very framework of thought until the foundations of their confidence crumble into dust. And from those ruins, you rise taller, sharper, more untouchable. You move like a shadow in daylight, impossible to catch, impossible to fully understand. The villain who smiles not out of cruelty, but because they know the futility of resistance. The Kingmaker who pulls strings so delicately, they almost seem invisible. Yet every subtle twitch of those strings snaps bones and shatters alliances. You are the silent earthquake beneath the arrogant fortress, shaking it to its core while they laugh at the ground's stillness. Psychological warfare isn't just a tactic for you. It's a philosophy. The weaponization of doubt, the poisoning of trust, the invasion of minds with whispers of betrayal and fear. You know the art of planting seeds of discord that sprout in the fertile soil of paranoia. You watch as their carefully built empires fracture from within, not by your brute force, but by your mastery of their own weaknesses. They never realized the war was in their heads all along. And this is the art that terrifies them, because their strength was never in numbers or weapons. It was in their certainty, their illusions of control. But you ripped that certainty apart, exposing their naked insecurity like a predator revealing a wounded prey. The cold smile you wear is a mirror held up to their souls, reflecting back the chaos they tried to bury beneath lies. There's a savage elegance in this dance. While they shout and stomp, trying to reclaim lost ground, you move with the fluid grace of a storm that's already passed but left destruction in its wake. They are the scattered leaves caught in your wind. They think the battle is loud, brutal, open, but you know better. The true war is silent, invisible. It's the war fought in the caverns of their minds, where paranoia festers and trust dies. Every word you utter, every gesture you make, is a calculated strike against their psyche. You twist their perceptions until they no longer know friend from foe, truth from deception. And in that fog of uncertainty, you are the only constant, the one force they cannot predict, cannot control, cannot defeat. Because power, real power, doesn't scream, it whispers. It seeps into cracks and crevices, corroding from within until structures collapse without ever hearing a shot fired. You are that whisper, the unseen poison in their veins, the shadow lurking just beyond the corner of their vision, the Kingmaker who decides fates without stepping into the light. And here lies the cruel irony. They fear your smile not because it's cruel, but because it is calm. It reveals an unshakable confidence that you have already mapped the entire battlefield in your mind, seen every move before it's made, and anticipated every counter. Your smile is the stillness of the eye in the hurricane, a place where chaos bends to your will. Philosophically, you embody the duality of existence, creator and destroyer, villain and kingmaker, silence and storm. They see your smile and think it's madness, but it's clarity, the clarity that comes with knowing you are not a player in their game. You are the force that bends the game itself, the chaos in the order, the shadow in the light. And they are desperate ghosts chasing a future you've already rewritten. Your moves are not reactions, but preemptive strikes. You don't follow the path laid before you. You carve your own with surgical precision. Every step forward is a calculated disruption. Every pause a recalibration that leaves your enemies in deeper confusion. Their attempts to decode you are futile because you are the enigma they can never solve. The villain whose smile is a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside, an impossibility. They try to corner you, but you slip through cracks they didn't know existed. You move not just like a kingmaker, but like a shadow that haunts their every step, a ghost story whispered in their darkest fears. This psychological domination is your throne. You don't need armies or loud declarations. You need only to exist as the contradiction they cannot reconcile. The calm presence in the chaos. The dark grin that promises inevitable downfall. And that promise is your power. Unspoken but palpable. Silent but suffocating. Your opponents don't realize that while they waste energy fighting your visible moves, the real game is hidden in your absence. The spaces you leave empty, the silences you create, the lies you let fester. In this void, you pull strings and shift allegiances, rewrite narratives, and dismantle loyalties. You are the master of invisible influence. And here's where it gets beautifully brutal. Your greatest weapon isn't your strength or your intellect. It's their own blindness, their arrogance that makes them underestimate you, their desperate clinging to the past, their refusal to see the shadow behind the king, their belief that power is loud and visible when, in reality, it is subtle, dark, and utterly unstoppable. Because when you smile like a villain, it's not a sign of weakness, it's the mark of inevitability. The cold realization that they are outmatched not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. You smile because you have already won their minds, their fears, their futures. They just don't know it yet. This is the lesson that haunts their sleepless nights. Control is an illusion, and you are the living proof. The walking contradiction who moves like a kingmaker while smiling like a villain. Calm, precise, untouchable. You don't just take power, you embody it, wield it like a weapon forged in the darkest fires of strategy and silence. Your every move is a masterclass in dominance, subtle, surgical, and devastating. You don't need to roar. The echoes of your absence scream louder than their bravado. They scramble to adapt, but adaptation is a step behind your foresight. They react, you anticipate, they fall, you rise. You've crossed the threshold from chaos to control, from menace to mastery. Your smile is the signature on their unraveling story, the final punctuation on their fading narrative. And as they clutch at straws, desperate to find footing, you are already writing the next chapter, a chapter where you are the unseen ruler, the silent conqueror, the ultimate kingmaker. So let them scramble, let them fracture and falter, because you are the calm after the storm, the shadow beyond the light, the villain who smiles because they know the truth. The game was never theirs to win. It was yours to design. And this phase, it's just the beginning of the reckoning they never saw coming. Now step forward into the inevitable finale, the reckoning where silence speaks louder than any roar, where the unseen hand becomes the iron fist that crushes without warning. This is your arena, the place where all your shadows converge, where every calculated move you've made manifests into undeniable dominance. They thought this was a game of chance. They were wrong. It was always a game of mastery. And you hold the board. They spent their energy chasing phantoms, reacting to echoes, never realizing they were dancing to a tune only you composed. But you never needed their approval, their understanding, or even their awareness. You operated on a plane above their comprehension, weaving destinies with cold precision, striking like the last breath of winter before the thaw. This final phase is not about brute force or loud declarations. It is about the subtle eradication of their illusions, the slow, methodical dismantling of their foundations, until all that remains is dust and regret. You don't need to march into the battlefield with swords drawn. You just need to be the constant shadow in their periphery, the whispered doubt in their minds, the unshakable certainty that their fall was predestined. Remember, the greatest victories are those that seem like accidents to the untrained eye. They'll call it coincidence, luck, fate. But you know better. You are the force behind the curtain, the architect of their downfall, the silent storm that leaves devastation in its wake without ever revealing its source. Your smile, that villainous curve, is the epitome of calm confidence. It's the knowing that no matter how loud they scream or how high they climb, you are already beyond their reach. You embody inevitability. Every move they make is a step into the trap you laid long before they realized the game had begun. Philosophically, you exist in the paradox of being both creator and destroyer. Your hands build the world while simultaneously unraveling theirs. Your presence is the unsettling balance between chaos and order, the dance of light and shadow. They crave certainty, but you thrive in uncertainty, that cruel limbo where every expectation is upended, every plan undone. Their greatest weakness, their arrogance, their belief that power must be seen, heard, and felt in grand gestures. But you understand the potency of invisibility, the power of being the ghosts in their machine, the whisper that poisons their alliances, the shadow that fractures their unity. They never see you coming because you don't announce your arrival. You manifest as inevitability. This is your domain, the unseen war waged in minds, the psychological dominion that breaks spirits without a single blow. You don't conquer with armies, you conquer with perception. You don't destroy with force, you destroy with fear, doubt, and the absolute certainty that resistance is futile. And here's the cruel beauty. They look at your smile and see madness, but it is clarity. Clarity born from mastery, from understanding the fragility of human pride and the art of exploiting it. You wear your villainy like a crown because you've earned it. You know the battlefield is mental, and you are its undisputed king. The chaos you orchestrate is not destruction for its own sake. It is the necessary purge to reveal a new order, your order. They resist because they fear change, but you welcome it because you are the change. The shadow that lurks behind every failure, every broken alliance, every whispered betrayal. You move like a Kingmaker because you understand that real power is never about direct control. It's about influence, subtle, pervasive, and irrevocable. You shape their fates with gentle nudges and invisible threads. You create the illusion of choice while ensuring every outcome bends to your will. And as the dust settles, your smile widens, not out of cruelty, but because you know the truth they can never accept. They never stood a chance. You designed the labyrinth, and they were always meant to lose. Their panic was your strategy, their chaos, your playground. This is the moment where the villain becomes legend, not because of cruelty, but because of cold, unyielding mastery. Because while they sought power in noise and spectacle, you found it in silence and shadow. While they built fragile empires on shaky foundations, you laid your dominion on the bedrock of inevitability. Your story will be whispered in fearful tones, studied in the silence after your departure. They will try to replicate your moves but fail, because what you possess is not just strategy, it's an essence, an understanding of the human psyche so profound it borders on the supernatural. You are the enigma that breaks minds, the Kingmaker who rules without throne or crown. Philosophers may argue about fate and free will, but you live beyond such trivial debates. You wield fate like a weapon and bend free will like a master sculptor shapes clay. Every move you make is both a declaration and a question, challenging their assumptions, breaking their wills, and rewriting the rules of engagement. Your villainous smile is your signature, a symbol of inevitable ruin wrapped in calm elegance. It warns, it promises, and above all, it guarantees that no matter how desperately they try, they cannot escape the web you spun. They are caught, not in chains, but in the prison of their own broken certainty. This is psychological warfare at its highest form, an invisible battle where the only visible casualty is their confidence, and as they crumble, you remain untouchable. The